is homesteading?
The definition of a homestead, as according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, is the home and adjoining land occupied by a family, or an ancestral home.
It's just a house.
Or it's a tract of land acquired from U.S. public lands where you had to file a permit and occupy the land and then cultivate and develop that land. But by that definition, homesteading hasn't been done in over 40 years. The first Homestead Act took place in the U.S. in 1862. The homestead was an area of land in the West, usually divided into 160-acre tracts, granted to any citizen willing to live on and farm that land for a minimum of 5 years.
The Homestead Act required a three-step procedure.
File an application, improve the land, and then file for the deed of title. Any person who had never taken up arms against the U.S. government, including freed slaves after the 14th Amendment, who was at least 21 years of age or the head of household, could file for a federal land grant.
The occupant had to live on the land for 5 years and show evidence of improvement.
That last segment was taken from Wikipedia directly. I only changed a few pieces just to kind of clarify it and make it a little more clear for reading. That process remained the same all the way up to the Federal Land Policy and Management Act in 1976, which formally put an end to homesteading as a government program. But that's just homesteading by U.S. government law. What about all the people that consider homesteading as a movement? What about people that consider homesteading as a way of life? And let's just be clear. Nobody in today's society is currently pursuing a U.S. government land homestead acquisition. It's gone. It's over with. So that means that everybody in today's society that considers themselves a homesteader considers themselves such as a way of life.
According to Wikipedia, the modern homesteading movement rejects social and governmental support systems in favor of self-reliance and apparent depravity in an effort to promote independence and self-determination.
As is true with just about everything I find on the internet, I partly agree with that last statement, but I partly disagree with it. The homesteaders that I know are, for the most part, against an overly powerful government telling us how our food should be processed and how we're supposed to eat it and what we're allowed to buy and sell and what we're allowed to do with the fruits of our own labor. However, I'm yet to have met a homesteader that's against an idea of a community structure or a socially involved community structure. I haven't met that homesteader. I can and I will go down the list of people that you can find, homesteaders, with a simple search right here on YouTube, who have either taken part of or have provided that sense of community, that sense of a social community involvement or community aid, and they've documented it right here on YouTube. Wrangler Star, on more than one occasion, has provided his community with snow plowing services. Justin Rhodes traveled all over this entire country, and he went and documented the greatest American farms. And in the process, he didn't just show up and run a camera, he jumped in and he helped. That's a sense of community. Homesteady has held workshops on his property to teach people how to process their own chickens. Art and Bree called on a neighbor to have their neighbor come down and till their garden for them. That's community. You see, at the core of every human being is a desire to coexist. It's how we were created. It's why friends can be so close, and it's why a community with a strong appreciation for that community can thrive. The idea of homesteading is not some rejection of society hermit lifestyle. In fact, it's quite the contrary. It's the ideal that we can provide for ourselves the essentials necessary to survive, and that if we do fall short, there's a neighbor we can call on to help. At the core of every homesteader is a passion, a desire to share what they know, a desire to share what they love, and perhaps even to share some of the mistakes that they've made, in hopes that you won't make the same mistakes. That's not a rejection of society. It's the idea that if Papa Don was here today, he'd be proud of me, because I'm taking care of myself and taking care of my family. At the heart of homesteading, it's not some weird science with white lab coats and goofy glasses. No, it's not any of those things. In fact, the declaration that one is a homesteader does not require that they own chickens. It doesn't require that they operate a market garden. It doesn't require them to wake up every morning at the crack of dawn, milk the family cow or the goat. It doesn't require you to own pigs and have a pastured poultry operation. But in reality, each of those is okay too. No, the only requirement to a homesteader is a subscription to the idea that, well, you tell me, why do you call yourself a homesteader?